Greetings from Victoria. My name is Garnet Schulhauser, and I'm a level 2 QHHT practitioner and the author of 4 books in the spiritual genre: Dancing on a Stamp, Dancing Forever with Spirit, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, and Dance of Eternal Rapture, all of which deal with my dialogue and subsequent astral travels with my spirit guide, Albert. Now, before we get into the serious topic of today, I just wanted to bring a little humor into the video. And it's interesting because when I was a child growing up as a Roman Catholic, religion and church were always very serious and somber matters. And in church, we weren't supposed to smile or laugh or talk and only barely whisper for very urgent matters. And my vision as a kid was that if that's what heaven is like, it's going to be a pretty dull and boring place. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because in my many different trips to the spirit side with my spirit guide Albert, I found out that humor is very much alive and well on the spirit side, and souls over there take great delight in telling jokes, in pulling pranks on each other, in poking fun at one another, because that's just all part of the whole well-being of unconditional love and enjoying life on the spirit side. So here's a joke that I heard on the spirit side on one of my trips. And it's a joke about Jesus, and there's no worry about offending Jesus about this joke, because no one over there gets offended by any sort of humor, and they easily laugh at themselves and do so quite frequently. So here's the joke. It seems that one day Jesus was approaching a village, and he heard a large commotion on the outskirts of the village. And as he got closer, he saw a crowd standing around a pit, and standing in the middle of the pit was a man in shackles. And Jesus inquired as to what was happening, and the crowd said that this man was going to be stoned to death because he had committed adultery. Well, Jesus quickly assessed the situation, and he said, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." Everyone froze, because no one wanted to be the first one. And then Jesus heard a voice at the back of the crowd saying, "Let me through, let me through." And the crowd parted, and there a little old lady came struggling to the edge of the pit, carrying a very large rock, which she promptly dropped on the head of the man in the pit, smashing him to pieces. Well, Jesus just glared at this old lady and said, "You know, mother, sometimes you really cheese me off." Anyway, so much for the humor. Some people would say it's very little humor, but in any event, I pass it on just to let you know, give you a flavor of some of the stuff that goes on the spirit side. And now for today's more serious topic, a question that I've been asked by many people over the years is, do animals have souls? Well, based upon my conversations with my spirit guide Albert, and the many amounts of information and wisdom I've gained from the higher self in my QHHT sessions, the answer is clearly yes, animals do have souls. I can recall when I first posed this question to Albert during my initial dialogue with him. And he said to me, "You need only look into the eyes of your little dog to find your answer." What he meant, of course, is that animals do have souls, and if you look into their eyes, you will clearly see confirmation of this, because many people believe that the eyes are windows to the soul. Albert said that animals do in fact have souls, and they can freely choose to incarnate into animals when they're on the spirit side to face the challenges and experience the lessons that they need for their evolution as souls. So choosing to incarnate as an animal is similar to choosing to incarnate as a human, and they get to choose where they're born, their circumstances, and all the other details, just like souls who incarnate into humans. And he said, in fact, many of us as humans have experienced previous incarnations on Earth as animals. And we use this as a stepping stone to learn about the Earth plane before we jump into a more complex life as a human on this planet. So when you return to the spirit side after your life as a human is over, your soul can freely choose to incarnate again as an animal on Earth instead of a human, if that is something that seems appropriate to the soul at the time. But Albert says that is usually unlikely, because most souls, first of all, when they come to the Earth plane, incarnate as animals because their lives are much more simple, and then gradually graduate to more complex lives as humans. So when you get back to the spirit side, it's unlikely that you'd want to go back to life as an animal, because it would be too simple compared to the life you just finished as a human. I've recently received confirmation that animals do in fact transition to the spirit side when their physical bodies die, where they can revel in the joy and happiness of the spirit side. It happened a few weeks after our little dog Abby, who passed away last December, came to us to give us messages to confirm to my wife and I that she was indeed alive and well and enjoying the joys of the spirit side. She sent us messages that she knew we would understand were coming from her. Things like we heard her footsteps on the hardwood floor, and occasionally I'd hear a sharp little bark that she used to give me when she wanted to go outside. And this was just her way of letting us know that everything's fine and don't worry about her, and we'll see each other again when we transition over ourselves. And not only do animals have souls, but I also learned that they have feelings and emotions just like humans. I found this out when Albert took me to the Akashic Records on one of our trips. And he took me to see a brief preview of my life review, which is the life review that we all receive when we first transition back to the spirit side. And in this brief preview, he showed me a segment from my current life when I was still practicing law. And I'd come home from work one day with my head in the clouds. And our little dog Oscar had come running to the door to greet me when he heard the garage door opening. But because I was lost in thought, I came in, walked past him without so much as a hello or a pat on his head. Well, I got to hear his thoughts and feel his emotions, and I learned that with much angst on my part, that I had caused him a lot of anguish, because he couldn't understand why I hadn't greeted him and why I didn't love him anymore, because he hadn't really done anything wrong in his view. And he was right, he hadn't done anything wrong, it was all me. And I felt really badly about how I caused him this anguish. And I realized then that animals do have feelings and emotions, and that really hit home to me that we really have to treat all animals with dignity and respect. And whenever we encounter animals, we should treat them as humanely as possible, because they all have their own place in the universe. The fact that many humans have had previous lives as animals on Earth has been confirmed to me many times in my QHHT sessions, where some of my clients have recalled past lives as for example, a golden retriever, a snow leopard, a Bengal tiger, and even a wild horse on the Eurasian steppes. And some of my clients have even recalled past lives as alien life forms on other planets. For example, one recalled a life as a green blob on a barren alien planet. Another one recalled a life as a jellyfish-like creature in a water planet where all the creatures survived underwater. Another one had a life as a giant avian-like creature who could fly on a planet where all the animals could fly. There have been also many clients who've had previous lives as intelligent alien life forms coming from other planets and other star systems, such as Pleiades and Andromeda. And some of them have even had recalled past lives as aliens in different dimensions, where they had faster than light spacecraft used to navigate around the universe. All of this just confirms to me that the cycle of reincarnation, which is not restricted to planet Earth, is much more convoluted than most of us realize. That's all for now, folks. Enjoy your journey, and remember to keep on dancing.